So I was supposed to do this video right after the day when MLS Cup finished and the day of the last game of the season, but since I had a bit of a fever, I decided that I am going to do this video today instead. Now, just because the MLS season is over, that doesn't mean there isn't really a lot to look forward to, and that the offseason is now in full swing, and this is a time where I, of course, will still make videos. I'll still do news of the week video and make at least two episode of that every single week. I'll also bring back the throwback series, which, I haven't really got a lot of chance to do it ever since I introduced it back in June, but I'm going to try to do more of those every Thursday. And then I, of course, will most importantly try to finish the Moving Forward series, which I know I kind of stopped when I did Columbus right in the end of September, and I haven't done one ever since, but that's because I've been so busy in terms of doing previews and reviews for the playoffs that I haven't really got a lot of time to do the Moving Forward series. But I'll try to start doing it this week in terms of talk about the next team and kind of review their season, and most importantly looking forward how they can improve heading into 2020. And yeah, that's basically going to be my plan in terms of videos that I'm going to put when MLS is in the off season. But in terms of the calendar itself, there is two category that I put in terms of the off season calendar. One is official and one is technically unofficial. Something that the league haven't really confirmed it, but I saw it in one of the Reddit posts on MLS Soccer that posted this unofficial schedule, so I decided to kind of share it with you. But in terms of the official off-season schedule that was posted last month on the league website, we start off the off-season with the trade window opening technically right now, and that it opened yesterday, and it's going to be opening until November 13 at 8 p.m. Eastern, and this is when the time when teams can, of course, make some signings and make some trades to other teams, and that the trade window does open until 8 p.m. Eastern when it's closed, but clubs do have an option where they can submit a bona fide offer, which means that, if a club want to sign a player or get this trade offer done, but they can't do it until 8 p.m. or cannot get this negotiation done by 8 p.m. Eastern, they can always submit a bona fide offer to the league saying that they need some extra time after the deadline is over, and that they, of course, will make sure though the contract negotiation would be done even though when the transfer window has already closed. But November 14 is when the club has to try to submit those bona fide offer before they, of course, are not going to be able to make any signings or any trade with other team until the expansion draft is over. Now, in November 19, speaking of the expansion draft, that is when it's taking place at 5 p.m. Eastern, and that this is going to be the time when Nashville and Miami gets to each choose 5 players from the eligible list and 5 players from the list of teams trying to put all their unprotected player lists in this pot, and that, Nashville, of course, they get to choose 5 players from that pot, and Miami get a chance to choose 5 players from those pot. And I'll definitely will keep an eye on the expansion draft and kind of do a little bit of a recap of who exactly did both of these teams select in the expansion draft. Now, 2 days later, in the November 21st, this is when club or this is when each MLS club has the deadline to exercise contract option to other of their player that is currently either under contract or out of contract. And then on November 25th at 3 p.m. Eastern, this is when the end of year waivers begins, and at the same time, that's also when free agency begin in MLS. So, all these players, of course, either gets denied of their contract or the fact that they, of course, are out of contract in the league. This is the time when other teams can, of course, snatch these player that is currently out of contract or been denied by a contract by the team, or gets denied by a team that has a chance to extend their track. Then on November 26th at 3 p.m. Eastern, this is when the re-entry process stage 1 begin. Then 7 days later, on December 3rd, also at 3 p.m. Eastern, that's when the re-entry process stage 2 will begin. Now, in terms of the unofficial off-season calendar that is not confirmed by MLS, but technically some of them are kind of official and kind of something that will happen. And the first thing that is going to kind of will happen is on December 9th. That's when the CONCACAF Champions League draw will take place, and that's when each MLS team that's going to be going to CCL will find out who they are going to be facing in the round of 16 of CCL. Now, in December 13th through the 15th, that's when College Cup, of course, begin, and then on January 1st of 2020, the first day of the new year, the European transfer window opens, and probably around that same time, this is when the Super Draft will be taking place in MLS in Baltimore. I have no idea exactly what the date is going to be. Last year, I believe it was January 8th, so probably it's going to be somewhere around that when teams, of course, can, draft a couple of these players from college and maybe make it to their roster. Now, in January 31st, that's when the current MLS collective bargain agreement expires, and I have no doubt that they are going to renew this contract bargaining agreement. I mean, I know throughout the season, and I think I've mentioned this before in the news of the week, that there's been some conflict in terms of the player union and MLS in terms of getting this CBA done and trying to agree on it before it expires on January 31st. But I have no doubt that they are going to renew it, and that I will be very surprised if they don't renew this, and that if they do let this expire, then MLS could potentially face a lockout season. Now, on the same day when the CBA expired, that's when the European transfer window will close, and then in January with 2 question mark is when the preseason starts. And I have no doubt that preseason is going to start a little bit earlier than previous year, because February with 2 question mark is when the start of the MLS season. So this actually technically shouldn't belong in the unofficial category, and maybe should belong in the official category, because it's been said that MLS will begin in February next year, and that this will be the earliest start of any MLS season in league history. But at the same time, that also means that preseason is going to start much earlier than previous year. I mean, I remember in previous year, preseason usually start in the latter part of January, but because the start of MLS season most likely is going to be either in the middle of February or at the end of February, I'm assuming that means preseason will at least be pushed for about 1 to 2 weeks, and probably start in the middle of January. But yeah, that is just a quick video talk about what is going to be coming up in the off-season calendar. Obviously, once we get through the official part, if MLS decided to update their off-season calendar and talk about when the start of the season would be, when is the Super Draft is going to come, I'm going to make another video just like this one. But either way, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash that subscribe button, and yeah, I will see you guys next time.